everyone, and welcome to Talk Together. That's right, Talk Together. Not talking is a free action. We'll get into why in a little bit. Welcome. This stream will be running for about an hour. Chris is with me. We're going to be chatting about a whole bunch of stuff. And before we get started, we should talk about our sponsors and supporters. And thank you very much to all the Hero Forges, Ultra Pros, Phoenix Dice, Alchemy RPG, Idle Champions, Neverwinter, Elderwood Academy, and D&D Beyond. Thank you all very much. Thank you to our D20 Club on Patreon. You're all smashing, wonderful, beautiful people. And you can find it, yes, the hut shape. You just curve your hands.
I've never been able to do it. I don't know.
Make a C shape. No, Chris, we're going to go through this now. Make a C shape.
Yeah, I've just done it.
Thumbs together.
Yes. And
then you tilt it. But point your thumbs a little bit. Thumbs. There you go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've got massive hands. I can never do the hand thing, so gigantic hands.
Well, the other one that all the cool kids, I am told, are doing nowadays is like a little thumb and finger cross that's like a little tiny heart.
What? Okay, number one, I have no manual dexterity at all. This is just, I'm famed for having zero manual dexterity. And also, I have really, really big hands. I've got a ridiculous wingspan, and I've got ridiculous hands. So, I often find...
No,
it gives you less
maneuverability.
Okay, so for example, you will have noticed, people always notice that I tend to palm my mugs because I can palm my mugs. That's a normal sized mug. And that's how big my hand is on a normal sized mug. But for some reason, being able to carry 4 plates is all very well and good, but being able to do I can't sew. I can't even thread a needle. It's impossible.
No, so the benefits of having small hands.
No skills.
This is like a thimble-sized owlbear. I'm just very small.
It's not that small. I think of a good comparable. I mean, the comparable people often see as a D20. That is a normal-sized D20 in my massive mitts. Yeah.
Oh, this is actually a large D20.
Okay.
This is one of the Phoenix Dice ones, which is a little bit large. But just goes to show my small hands. Anyway, that's how much we love our D20 club.
Off-piste already. Good start, everyone.
You're great people, and they do things like help us run a wiki and a Discord and our community, and we love them very much.
Yes, we do.
So thank you all. If you are new to us and you would like to find us on socials or podcasts or elsewhere, search for Roll Together RPG. You'll likely find us.
When I started working in marketing years ago, telling people to just search for your brand name was like a massive no. You have to give them direct instruction. Whereas he says, just search for it.
Yeah.
It's all changed.
I mean, this is, people are slightly more branding canny nowadays.
True.
And chances are, if you are putting something out into the public realm, if you have not carefully thought about your website URL, and I know we don't have one, but your socials and making sure that they are the same. Well, and if you're doing Twitch or YouTube and making sure they are the same.
Well, it's SEO, search engine optimization. It's all part of the same thing. It's why we don't have a website, because all it would do is direct people to a funnel to all of our other outlets, which are already interconnected with each other. It's this Web 3.0, Web 4.0 theories. It is very boring, but marketing, it's a thing.
Do we have a link tree?
We do have a link tree, because that way it's got a mobile connection. Yeah, exactly. It reconnects everything. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, that thrilling insights into hand sizes and SEO is probably a little bit indicative of how this chat is gonna go. It's Friday night, except it's not. It's a Thursday afternoon.
Thursday afternoon.
We're drinking tea and water. Let's get into it.
Cheers.
Cheers. So, Chris.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard.
It's the elephant in the room, innit?
There's some news about some dice rolling game that a lot of us play quite a lot of. It's been in the news quite a lot lately.
Yep. There is. It has.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you like to know, Natalie?
How did you feel about that?
Oh, crap. Honest answer. Crap. It's crap. I'm really happy to add our names to the voices of people like Jerry from Mac Inc. and Mark from High Rollers and Ginny and some other D&D creators out there in saying categorically and very clearly, D&D do not pay us to make our shows. They never have. They've supported us, they've marketed for us, they have helped us secure sponsorships and that sort of thing, but we've never received a penny from them. And that's not because they're awful people or because they don't care about streaming. They do. It's because they don't tend to fund or get that involved in it. It's not really their bag. Like, the conversation about the OGL at the moment very specifically does not affect streaming. They are completely separate things. We're covered by a thing called the fan content policy. It's a whole different thingamajig. That isn't to say that we don't care about this OGL stuff, because it affects so many people who we play with, who we know, who watch the shows, who engage with us and the community that we are part of. So yeah, like, I think that's an important first step to make talking about this. We've been sponsored by D&D Beyond in the past before they were belonging to WotC. That was financial. But at the moment, it's just a quid pro quo. And we're currently not posting about D&D Beyond as much because, frankly, we don't get it drawn into the mess. Because it's what it is now. It's a mess. We're recording this on Thursday afternoon. That's Thursday the 19th. There's a lot of competing messages out there about what's actually happening. I don't particularly want to get drawn into they said, here's what happened. There's no need. It's on the internet. If you'd like to know more about it, it's all over Twitter. Please search to your heart's content. It's particularly difficult when you're looking at a brand who have not treated you very professionally in the past. That's us as a company and me personally. That isn't to say that they're bad people. This isn't as easy as that. But they have their own agenda, and sometimes it's corporate, and all of this feels extremely corporate. It doesn't take a scientist or an economist to look at Hasbro's official records of how much money they make and note quite how much of D&D's annual revenue, which is fine, turns into Hasbro's profit. It's a money system. Hasbro have worked out that WotC makes them a lot of money and are therefore pumping it for money. We've seen it in Magic the Gathering with the infamous now printing of $1,000 cards that are worth nothing. Yep. Great. It's lovely. And now with the D&D Beyond stuff and with D&D in general and the OGL, I don't know what's true anymore. I don't know if they are going to raise their prices dramatically or cut off homebrewing unless you pay them or kill off other VTTs. I don't know. And I don't think anyone apart from people working for WotC right now can categorically say that they do or don't know what is happening. What we can do is look at indicators, and the indicators have been there for a while, and they're now becoming stronger. The writing's on the wall. WotC want to edge out competition. They want to lock you into doing their thing on their channels. And in a sense, from a business perspective, I can't actually blame them for that, because that is what a business does. Like, I imagine a lot of the execs, because this is the problem, are looking at this going, why are they so angry about this? This is how video games work. This is how, any other possible game that you engage with on the internet these days works. Why are people so intransigent here? I think it's a fundamental misunderstanding of what this community is. Which is
also what D&D is. Yeah,
D&D in and of itself, as well as the people who are involved in making it, because it's not just Wizards of the Coast who are involved in making it. It's not how it works. And by using a license that was free to use, with some caveats, they made it a community project with limitations and restrictions and trademarks and all the rest of it. I don't think this is the way to stop doing that.
Yeah.
And maybe they want to. Maybe this is the point where they go, we're done. This is where we draw the line. I think we're doing enough shit now. We don't need your shit as well. Okay, maybe don't do that by issuing NDAs. Maybe don't do that by saying, here's the new license, take it now, or you won't get the sweetheart deal that you'll get later. These are things that have happened. There's evidence that it's happened. Maybe don't send non-disparagement orders out to people saying, if you talk about us negatively, we have the right to cancel contracts, take away your money, etc. because that's a corporation covering its ass. And all of these statements over the last couple of days as a corporation covering its ass desperately. And I've seen some of this floating around on Twitter. I think it's quite a good place to point out why this is important. Of course they are. They're not in a great position. Not with this, not with D&D, not with the OGL. I mean, that's not fantastic, that's bad. They're in a worse position over here, which is the Hasbro block. Their stock tanked by 40% last year, and because of the Magic thing. An independent contract of the Bank of America said, look at this stock, they're oversubscribing, they're pushing this way too hard, this is not real money. At which point the whole thing started to go down off a cliff. So of course they're consolidating, of course they're trying to build up more money from the thing they make money out of, because that way their stock can rise. It's notable that throughout all of this OGL mess, the stock has not really shifted, it's gone up a bit, down a bit, like it's just normal stocks and shares movements. The reason why was made pretty clear in the Magic the Gathering fireside chat, which was mostly about D&D for reasons best known to Watsy. Yeah, I know. Where it was said pretty categorically that D&D is a lifestyle brand. It's not an RPG, it's not a TTRPG, it is a lifestyle brand. They are looking at it in marketing terms, you talk about quadrants, looking at it as a 4-quadrant brand. They can push it to all sorts of different people. The gamers themselves, small fry, they're not going to make that much money out of it. A movie, the movie, that has to go well now. That has to make them, that has to be another Transformers. That has to be another My Little Pony. There has to be something where they can point at it and go, shareholders, look at how much money these brands can make and how many toys we can sell. Because is it any surprise in the last week we've also had new Funko Pops of D&D characters from the games, new plushies of D&D characters from the movies. This is all part of a brand expansion where players fall by the wayside. Yeah. It's not important to them.
I'm sorry, this is completely off tangent, but you listing My Little Pony amongst that list, I get where you're coming from because, again, toys to narrative on-screen products. But I instantly, my brain went, has there been a My Little Pony movie? And then instantly started imagining some kind of modern style, like CGI meets live action, just nonsense explosions film.
We can but dream. That sounds amazing.
I know, right? Just gritty horses being like, yeah, magic, friendship. Anyway.
I'm pretty sure, and don't quote me on this because I'm no expert, but I believe there's been 7, mostly direct to stream release and that sort of thing. But they make gangbusters. People love them. And it is things like that where Hasbro can point at them and say, this is why we spend that much money on this silly game for nerds, because it's a lifestyle brand and we can sell shit tons of product off the back of it. Are they trying to align D&D more into that model, that metric that they have? There's a thing floating around about something called Hasbro Blueprint, which is apparently a big old company plan to get all of their products aligned like this. I'm sure it's something like that. None of this has anything to do with gamers. And there was a thing said around the time when Magic 30 was printed, all these $999 boxes for nothing. This product isn't for you. Got said a lot. It was all over the Professor, Tolarian Academy, and for I don't think the Command Zone people said it, but yeah, it was all over this sort of shared media around this sort of thing. This product is not for you. I don't think Watsy think of D&D as a TTRPG and look at players and think this product is not for you. You can play all you wish. We're really glad you enjoy this small fry part of our business, but the lifestyle brand, the things we can get huge amounts of money from investors and shareholders from, this product's not for you. They're not making a movie for us. They're making a movie for randos off the street to maybe hopefully get slightly more invested and buy 1 or 2 books. Magic the Gathering has made more money out of Arena, the online free-to-play, get some free cards, and then hopefully buy 1 or 2 more version of Magic than they have out of the paper printing for a while now. They even said it in this fireside chat again. Arena's been a much better way of acquiring new players because it's easy. And they're not wrong. That's how it works.
Do you know how well, I appreciate you probably had other points to...
No, it's fine.
Do you know how well books and expanded universe novels and that kind of thing do set in Faerun?
I don't have stats and figures. I know that the best-selling book they've ever had was Critical Role one, apart from the main source books. It's unsurprising in a way. And maybe this is all, it feels apt to say that there's a lot of their comment around the OGL has been about getting rid of corporate enemies, people who are getting in the way of their work and what they want to do. Of course, Critical Role's on that list. I mean, can you imagine how you'd feel as a D&D exec watching Critical Role success and going, why aren't we in on the ground level? Mm-hmm. That should have been our show. That should have been our TV deal with Amazon. That should have been. And it should have been. And if I was a Hasbro exec looking at what's the execs, I'd be going, what the hell are you doing? I think that's totally valid. But that also means that what's the execs looking at themselves and going, why did we discredit third parties so much? Why do we look at it as armchair designers, a term used in a recent email? Why do we look at it as randos doing stuff on the internet that we don't care about? It's not important. Like, I was at events, well, virtually, where third party was spoken about in the kind of splitters kind of thing from Monty Python. Like, they didn't care. It was all, no, we've done a big event. It's not the biggest D&D stream in the world, though, is it, lads? Like, it was very clear that there was a disconnect there between what they wanted to present to the world as their baby, their show, their thing that they had done, and to be told, yes, but Marvel exists, effectively. From my perspective, we can't change what we do quickly, because there's too many of us. We record shows months in advance, and we're not going to. I stand by something that I've read on the internet that I agree with fully. WotC is not D&D. They own the trademark. They can say that you can't say the word D&D, but good luck policing that.
Well, good luck policing people sitting around a campfire and telling stories to each other.
Exactly.
That's what you're trying to do.
Exactly. And as has been established by a couple of different people, you can't trademark a game system. You can't copyright a game system. It doesn't exist. It was...
D20s have existed for thousands of years.
That's an Egyptian one I saw. An ancient Egyptian one, yeah. So there's nothing much they can do about that. If what it means is we need to go through and change the names of all of the classes and all of the whatevers, or move all of our adventures off Faerun, so be it, frankly. I think that's achievable, don't you? I think we can just shrug and go, well, let's move on to pastures greener if we need to.
Do you think it's achievable to make an entirely new campaign setting that's not in Faerun and tell stories in there instead, Chris?
To be fair, that campaign setting and the way that we're doing it is a necessary departure. I'll get to that later, but it's a longer conversation. But it is a necessary departure from what we've been doing beforehand, because it's an attempt to look at things from a different angle. I think what we'd need to do is find some other way to go. Generic fantasy plonk. That was what it would be. And it would be a little like meta as all fuck, but I think we could handle it. I think it'd be fine. Yeah. And the people who love watching people play D&D, not just us, will keep watching people play D&D regardless of what they do, and that's fine, and that's the way that it should be. And as long as third-party content very explicitly says this has no connection to the game that we can't talk about ever at any point, who cares? There is no way to easily police that. Now, they might start putting up massive court cases. I'm sure Paizo would be the first target if they did. But I don't think they can afford it. D&D Beyond cost them $140 million. And it didn't cost WotC $140 million. It cost Hasbro $140 million. If the movie tanks, which I'm not sure, I'm no judge of these things, and names like Chris Pine do a great job of bringing in audiences regardless of the content. So I don't know. I do think this is going to have a considerable further backlash over time. It feels very much like the 3.5 to 4E transition when it was all up in the air. When they tried to not rewrite the OGL, tried to publish a new one, it didn't work. When 4th edition didn't really land, people didn't love it, and Pathfinder just said, we'll just use this, thank you very much for your time, and kept going. I can see all of that. I don't feel like we're going to change systems hugely. And that's not to keep supporting WotC, far from it. But it's because it's a system for storytelling that we as players all understand, and that our audiences we know understand.
Yeah.
I find the rules to be secondary to the storytelling, frankly. And if the rules mean we have a structure which we can tell our stories, whoopity-doo. If that structure needs to have a different name, so be it. But I'm not looking to jump across to other game systems for a variety of very boring reasons. One being learning new game systems is hard. One being learning how to change all of what you've planned to do into another system is also difficult. And because other game systems, and I don't mean to be completist about this, have their own problems. I'm not going to say anything else about that, but let's not look at all of them and go, hooray, they're all the good guys now. Go, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I play a variety of different TTRPGs, not just D&D. In fact, D&D was one of the last ones I came to.
Hang on.
Apart from
very important. Splitter, good.
Actually, well, no, I'll correct that. I played a couple of one-shots back in university, which I have no idea which edition it was. Probably third.
You and I are some sort of age, yeah, third,
yes.
Probably.
Yeah. But other than that, that's kind of it. And I think, yeah, there's pluses and minuses to all systems.
Yeah.
If you've got the right group of people who are into it, you can tell whatever story you like using whatever. You don't need dice. You just tell stories. But people don't necessarily want to watch people just improv stories.
Yeah, it's also a game.
To the camera. Yeah.
But the aspect of it being a game for me is what takes it beyond the theatrical. It takes it into the aspect of because you know, actors can improvise a story. Well, that's not difficult, is it? The ability to go within
it's a trained skill, actually.
You know what I mean. It's not rocket science. Like, as long as you pick up a couple of yes-anding rules and just move on, you're fine. It's more that within this framework, we know some more about this world because we have this framework, which is useful because it gives us a structure which to improvise inside. And then with dice rolls, we get to go, I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
And the dice roll allows it to be it went horrifically wrong, now what? Or it did exactly what you wanted it to, now what? And there's a very boring ludonarrative conversation about dice performing a yes and a no but version of events. But yeah, I think the game aspect of it is important. And I think a game that everyone understands the rules is important because there's a thing that Chris Cox said, who is the, I believe the president? I don't know. They've all got these titles. I don't know. Chris Cox is a very important person with WotC. There we go. I think in charge, maybe in charge of Hasbro. I don't know. I think he gave an interview as part of the Fireside Chat, I think. Can't remember. Where he was talking about his job and how people talk to him about his job. And if he talks about, I'm the president of WotC or whatever it is, they go, what's that? They have no idea what that is. Well, why would they at a dinner party? If he says, I'm the We Make Magic the Gathering, he said 3 out of 10 people will have super intense conversations with him about it, and the other 7 will go, well, I'm excluded, and walk away from the conversation because they don't know anything about it. Like, either you are in or you are out. Magic is very clear on that structure. If he says we make Dungeons and Dragons, everyone has a connection, a small, sometimes, oh, my boyfriend used to play that. Oh, my partner used to play that. Oh, there's that TV show. Oh, there's that video game, etc. It is an understood connection. And 5e took that understood connection and went, we can now all do it because 5e, lest we forget, and people seem to forget this, the first book was co-written by Kobold. People who are now running their own system. D&D was in such a state when 5e was being launched, they had to get outside third-party writers to even begin to make it something what it is today. And they seem to have forgotten that entirely, which is some bullshit. Yeah. But that's why. D&D is a known structure. We can tell stories in D structure and go, it's a natural 20. And I think it's fair to say that even those who don't have much of a concept for what we do will still understand what that means. That is good. Yeah. That means you have over-exceeded in what you tried to do. Or that's a nat 1. I understand what that means.
Yeah.
You know?
The other benefit, I guess, of streaming D&D in particular, not just the game mechanics, but the fact that, and I know we have Fracture, which again we'll talk about, but the fact that a lot of the stories we tell are set in Faerun.
Yes.
And for those who want to, and you don't have to, but for those who want to, there is a whole wiki bigger than ours, infinitesimally large, of lore that you can get stuck into and find out who that god is, who they pissed off, why that's important. when we recorded Mithranor, I'd never played an elf before, and I absolutely loved deep diving into all of that. But it's not necessary. You can play whatever you like.
Yeah.
But for those who have watched other streams that are set in that world and come and watch ours, there's still those moments of, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. I know where that place is in their version of this world.
There is a clear understanding, to my mind, of how having a collective lore for a world enhances gameplay over inhibiting it. I know the WotC design team and I disagree on this, and that's totally fine. Because from my perspective, going, oh, that character is related to this other character you heard of a long time ago, most people won't care. And most people will go, I don't understand that reference, but it doesn't really feel like I need to understand it to tell my story, which is fine. If I'm outside of that construct and trying to make that kind of reference, I have to explain it. Or it has to be a reference that only we understand.
Yeah.
And accessibility is a big word that gets used around a lot of things to do with D&D, but one of the accessibility things that we started out doing, and I'm very proud of, is that you can hopefully watch any stream that we do and go, I understand what's going on here. I don't need to have watched the past 40 hours. I don't need to have caught up online in 1,000 different readings of things. I can just watch this, and even without the context clues of some of these things, I still get what's going on. Like, you can't create that in a vacuum. You cannot have someone come in and go, I understand what these things are in a vacuum. But there's cultural understanding, there's zeitgeist understanding, and there's just lore that we all go, yoink, thank you. That gives us a lot of material to work off and build with. But that's also a point of complex legal conversations, one of the reasons why this is happening. The OGL kind of says that's fine to do, but we're not bound by that. We're bound by the fan policy, but we also make money. Complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hence exploring other potential worlds as well.
Segue. What a great host Nat is, everyone. Just note that again. It was a beautiful segue into like another conversation point. It's great stuff. Great stuff.
So Fracture.
Fracture. What do you want to know? Where are you going? What do you want to know?
When you first started, because I know this is, I've seen a little bit behind the scenes because I'm in the Discord channels, even though I'm not involved in that particular production. Obviously, you have a working document with some world building ideas. We're 3 episodes in now, so it's no spoiler to say that this is a world. And if you've not watched the first 3 episodes, go and watch at least the first one. This world.
There's recaps of about a minute or 2 of each episode from one of the player characters, or in some case my perspectives. They come out just before each show every week, so if you want to catch up, you can watch it before diving into the next one. That is, again, part of the accessibility thing. We don't want to create the what I will term the critical role problem. I don't mean that harshly. I know I don't know how they fix that. Of hey, can I watch this show? Sure, there are 100 episodes in.
Yeah.
Who's Tarian? Oh.
Yeah, I've got no idea. I started watching it campaign 3, and I just dip into the wiki to look up references. I don't know.
Right.
Anyway, Fracture, our story.
Our story.
It's no spoiler, I think, at this point, hopefully, to say that this is a world in which people do not die in the normal way.
Yes.
When did you start? Because I have a feeling you didn't go, we need to do a long-term campaign and take it somewhere new. What should we do? People. I feel like that's an idea that you've maybe had been toying with previously.
Yes. I'm going to start off by saying there's a lot of credit due here to a 3rd edition book called Ghost Walk. Ghost Walk was a campaign setting, when they used to release sort of other settings apart from Faerun and Greyhawk, where they went, here's just a whole setting in one book, where the whole idea was that there was a world of the living, world of the dead, and Ghost Walk, the town of, was the place where they connected. And therefore ghosts walked amongst people, etc. There were rules for how player characters could become ghost versions themselves. Feats you only got if you were a ghost, all that sort of thing. And I liked it when I was young. I remember reading it and going, this is some meaty or mummy juiciness. But also going, I think they've limited themselves by this one intersection point. Because by that definition, I know it's very hard in D&D because I kill a monster, it's still alive. You get yourself into messes very quickly. Mm-hmm. But I thought about it and thought, hang on, wind that back a bit. There's no reason that death has to be finite. Let's face it, in D&D it isn't. Mm-hmm. So why not just draw a line under it and go, no, gone? Mm-hmm. That was not the starting point. It's one of the starting points. There is a wider thing that has happened in the world that I can't talk about because we haven't discovered it in world yet, and I'm not even sure if and when we will, you know? There is a bigger theme to this world that I have not gone into great detail in, and I don't want to go into great detail into it because I want it to be the kind of thing you discover through time, picking up morsels. Yeah. That is a bigger thought I have about D&D in general, which is about divinity. It is about what it means and how it functions in a world and what it does to a world. And I wanted, in Fracture in particular, to go, what if we do something bold with that and then see all the repercussions of it? Mm-hmm. So this is all the repercussions of it. The world they are experiencing. This so far, and it's fair to say, will be ongoing mess of a world. What's happened to it? Why is it like this? Because it doesn't seem nice. It isn't. Yeah. And seeing how they can start to piece together why it is the way it is and what's happened to make it the way it is and how it's affecting them as people in this world. And then also going just for rules extrapolation. Well, if that spell still works, then how does that make sense with this? And pieces like that, putting those pieces together, then was a lot of the groundwork for fitting out how it all works, how it all fits together. I tried, not sure if I succeeded, but I tried to stick as close to understanding of how D&D rules function, i.e., is there still an ethereal plane? Is there still are there transitive planes? They've already started to discover that these planes might not be accessible from the outside. What does that mean for spells like Plane Shift? What does that mean for other things, and how does it function in a game world? Because a lot of times when I've done big homebrew worlds in home games or tried out something new and a bit different, I've gone, hang on, which spells do I just go, nope, can't cast it? Mm-hmm. And I tried to leave as many of those out as possible on the principle that I don't want to overdo this. I don't want to suddenly make it like I have changed the entire game. I want people watching it and the players playing it to go, I still understand how this world works in general, even if all of the pieces I see are different.
Yeah. You don't want to, I mean, I can't imagine it would go too far to the extreme, but when you start changing the world fundamentally in a way that certain spells don't work, then you start restricting the kinds of classes that people would be interested in playing because some will just not work.
Exactly. So trying to find ways that you can change, you can make a big change. You can make a world that has a fundamentally different aspect to it from your standard Faerunian D&D and go, how is this different? Okay, now what are all of the implications of that? Mm-hmm. And then doing what I always do and going, time for a ton of research and writing down notes. And am I going to change anything or am I going to hand wave? And it's always fine to hand wave. I say this as a DMing tip to anybody. Hand wave all the time, for God's sake. Does that work? No. Can I do this? Can I solve the problem? No.
Who knows why? It's a mystery.
Exactly. But that's okay. Like, I think as a DM, you are entitled to go, not in my world, I'm sorry. And you're entitled to go, you've circumnavigated my problem. I'm going to say it doesn't work because I don't want you to. Like, I think you're allowed to. You probably say it better than that. But there's an element of that to DMing and to creating your own world where I think it's good to make bold choices and then try and work it all out to a point where a player comes to you and says, I want to do X, and you go, shit, hang on, X is really similar to Y, Z, and A. It's this, you can't do it. Or it's this, therefore it's different. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it takes give and take from, but I hate how I worded that. It requires, it nurtures off give and take from both player and DMs, though. When you're going into, when you're playing in a homebrew world, you have to understand that the DM, this is ultimately, okay, for us we get paid, but ultimately this is a hobby and something that people get incredibly invested in for sure. Absolutely. And take a lot of pleasure in doing for sure. However, your DM, chances are, has not spent 8 years writing the rules.
No.
And playtesting every single possible outcome and things. So,
not unless they're super obsessive.
We don't know anyone like that,
no,
right? No. So just this is a casual, friendly reminder to be nice and collaborative.
That is also
collaborative
true, yeah.
Storytelling.
Well, that's one of the nice things about this, because as you said, there is a document, and that's shared amongst all the DMs for the channel, because I want the other DMs to have, not ownership is such a big word because of course they don't, I wrote it, but to have a sense that their input is part of the world. Because,
well, I mean, you posted it, and then not in a nasty way at all, in a collaborative, constructive way. Immediately, I think it was like Sean and Ali were like, "But how does this work? And how about this?
Absolutely.
But this, and this."
And there's two examples of two DMs who do that thing as well, where they go, "But hang on, I've noticed the edge case," and that's good. Like Ali's amazing again, even as a player, going, "Here's the edge case." You go, "Oh, damn it!" But that's but that's kind of the point, and they're really good at that. And it also meant that then the response to that wasn't, "Oh, I don't know." It was, "Let me have a think about it," and how about we do this as a group? That way we can all enjoy that later. Because in an ideal world, I want other DMs to feel like they can DM in this world as well, and we have two concurrent shows where one is, I mean, for now, Faerun and things people will go, I can kick into that and just go, yes, that's great, I love it. And this one's more of a, interesting, new world, new building, what are they doing? I like that idea. I'm not sure if that will happen. I hope that will happen. I also wanted a bigger conversation. We started planning for this when we started hearing about the OGL news. Let's not kid ourselves. We started planning about this and we knew there might be a problem. Having a world we can transpose things into seemed like a good idea. It then grew into I don't think we're that connected to it. I think we're probably fine anyway. And but yes, of course you should adapt your storytelling ideas to befit the world around you and the changes happening in it. This was one of them.
Is there anything about Fracture that's not going to be a big fundamental spoiler? But because, I mean, for Fracture, it's recorded even more slightly further ahead than usual.
Yes.
So you recorded episode 5 or 6 by now?
7,
yeah. Is there anything coming up? Any little moments? Any NPCs or PC character moments that you're like, oh, that's really lovely, and I'm very excited for everyone to see? I really like the penguin.
Oh, little Dowas.
Second episode. Yeah.
Dowas are. Oh, hello. They are creatures that exist in Spelljammer lore. A lot of the sync where they are now, a lot of that first world is a lot of Spelljammer stuff crash landed on this space because it's kind of the vibe of the sync, and the whole point of that is to have a bunch of the rando weird shit that D&D is very good at doing. When they go into the world proper, it's a bit more like there's a bit less sporadic. So not sure if we'll see any more Dowa. I might have to keep adding them in because they're fun. Okay. There's a bit later where I first give the cast like a sense of size, scope, and scale of a faction that may or may not be villainous, and it's unclear. Where I remember DMing it and all of them going, what? How big? Like just going, it's doing what now? And it's no secret that there are some sci-fi elements in this, that it's not entirely fantasy, classic fantasy. It's also not entirely sci-fi. I'm playing around a lot with, it's not called plastic punk, is it? What's the retro? There's a word for the punk 90s, 80s plasticky revolution stuff. I don't remember what it's called. No.
I can't help you. It's just the genre of film that I like. But I don't know there was a genre term.
Well, like Brazil and stuff like that. It's all that sort of thing where it's all like semi-modern, but also like shit. Fallout's a bit like that too. Yeah. And then there's also one of my favorite genres, which is very, very hard to do because of the historical connections, which is diesel punk, which is 1930s, 1940s style airships and things like that, but so often become Nazis. And obviously, as a German person, kinda don't like that. So taking it into a completely different setup, a completely different vibe, and going, here's a completely different vibe, still using this thing that I like. Like a lot of Studio Ghibli films are Dieselpunk. And work in that kind of form. And I did where Dieselpunk smashes into fantasy quite hard. Castles in the Sky being one of the classic ones that I absolutely adore.
Yeah.
Or Nausicaa also.
Are you gonna add Tanukis flying with their testicles to Fracture? I feel like they'd fit right in.
Look, there are some aspects of Ghibli that I absolutely adore and some that can bog off. Watching two kids slowly die of radiation poisoning is not my idea of fun. I'm putting it out there. It's a great film, but oh my God.
I mean, I didn't even bring up Grave of the Fireflies. I was talking about Totoro. Oh God, which one is it with the Tanukis?
I can't remember. It's one of the ones.
Pompoco's the pig. No, that's Porco Rosso. Maybe it is Pompoco.
It's Pompoco. It's Pompoco because that's the one with the fish girl. Porco Rosso.
No, that's Ponyo.
Oh dear God. See, there's a lot of Ghibli films where I go, you know what, it's grand, it's not my thing. Like, give me Porco Rosso any day, that's an incredible film. Give me Mononoke, give me Spirited Away, give me Castles, give me all of the ones where you go, the scope and the idea and the vision is just incredible. And the ones where you go, it's a fucking kids movie. And sometimes you do, and that's okay. They're allowed to have different output, they're a studio. But yeah, if you think in the vein of Castles and in the vein of Porco Rosso, you're not far off Fracture, honestly, in terms of the wider world potentially as they get closer to it, but they're not there yet. Like, we are steering into some interesting modernity that I'm really excited to start playing around in with these characters, but we haven't quite got there yet.
Nice. Well, I'm excited to.
Oh, and a really obvious Star Wars riff. Like an insanely obvious Star Wars riff where I went, you know what? It's Star Wars and I am owning it. I love Star Wars. I loved it as a child, loved it forever. Modern stuff, come and go on. But the stuff that's here is the classic. When I was a kid, this scared the shit out of me. And when I was a kid, I loved this and felt super inspired by it. Like when I was 7, like we're talking a lifetime ago. And I wanted to tap into that, like, because Star Wars has become this kind of huge multinational conglomerate Disney-fied thing, and there are elements of it I absolutely love, like Mandalorian's great. Other things are not. So the ability to go, but this is like that bit of it when I was a kid that made me go, I love this. This is so spooky and scary and weird, and it's I've never seen anything like it because, of course, science fiction when I was 7 was not like that. So,
is it the cave? Remember your experience at the cave.
No, it doesn't shivers down my spine, but no, it's not that. It's the first time we see Darth Vader properly.
Yeah,
Not only is that guy friggin' huge, it's, you see this insane, like, take out all of the historical reference of how many times we've seen Star Wars and just think of that first moment. There's a firefight in a corridor, people dying left and right. It's scary and violent and you don't know quite what's going on. And someone just walks through it.
That was one of my favorite things about Rogue One is that all these years later, where Darth Vader has become a bit of a joke and less scary because we've seen his backstory and we know how flawed he is, but also everyone knows that I am your father and this meme all the time. Rogue One took it back to that scene reminding you of how terrifying Vader could be.
Absolutely. Have you played Fallen Order? I mean, spoilers for Fallen Order, but the final fight in Fallen Order, oh my God.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He kills your friend like that. Done. You try and run away, and he's literally tearing the floor up around you, crushing walkways so you can't cross them as you desperately try to run away, because if you don't, he kills you immediately. There's no, he might be, there's a boss fight. No, this is a run the fuck away. He is a rolling ball of destruction, and it's your job to go. It's that kind of vibe. I haven't quite done that with this character yet, but I will at some point. It's that sense of this person is very fucking dangerous. And not dangerous in the sense of, he could just crush you in an instant, because that's part of it, but more of a, once the will is set in place, there's not much you can do. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, there's elements of that too.
I don't know if you've watched, this is a complete tangent, it's not D&D related at all. We watched the latest Jurassic Park film that came out last year and no one went to see. But they tried to make raptors scary again by making them this, like, once they have latched onto you and they've got the scent, that's it. They will just keep coming. And it just, they only use it in that one scene. And it's just like,
okay,
you've de-scarified raptors now.
The last one I watched ended in an auction, I want to say, where supervillains from around the world were bidding on dinosaurs to be their new, like...
Yeah.
You went, what kind of Dr. Evil bullshit is this?
Yeah.
This is so stupid. What happened?
Well, my favorite thing about the new Jurassic Park film, I think it's Dominion, is Domination. Domain.
Last one I saw had an A in the title. That's all I remember.
Oh, no. Yeah. Jurassic Park Dominatrix. I don't know. That's a very different film.
Putting a T-Rex in thigh highs. And
I mean, Rule 34, someone's made it.
probably.
Is it 34? Is or 32?
Yes, 34.
34, yeah. That is complete side. So, my favorite thing about the latest Jurassic Park film is that it's dumb. It's so stupid. It's a bad film. But they've finally done actually it's very entertaining to watch and rip apart with someone else while you watch it.
Oh, I see. They've gone out the other end. They've gone out to it's so dumb to watch that you're enjoying tearing it to pieces while you're watching it. Yeah.
I don't know if it was intentional, but there it is.
You can't watch Fast and Furious unironically.
Yeah.
I just enjoy this because of the muscles in the cars. You know it's a parody of itself, right?
Yeah.
Please tell me you understand that this is a parody of its own failings.
Yeah.
Like, at one point, Vin Diesel jumps out of a flying car to catch someone and then falls them into another car, and you just go, even Bond movies had some even during the Roger Moore era had some element of verisimilitude, and this has none. This is just abject nonsense now. But it's fun nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's that Leonard Nimoy quote from the Simpsons episode he's in? The following tale of alien encounter is true. And by true, I mean false. It's all lies, but they're entertaining lies. And in the end, isn't that the real truth? The answer is no. Our story begins and just dives straight in.
How do you remember that quote so perfectly?
When Simpsons was good. When Simpsons was good. And also, that quote is a really good guiding principle for anything. So, you know me, my memory's like a fucking lockbox. It's really annoying. I can't get rid of stuff like that.
It just keeps haunting me and popping up at the moment. At least
having the kind of memory like I do, where things genuinely haunt me for absolutely years because I cannot get rid of them, is the absolute worst. It has wonderful good sides, really, really good sides, obviously, but that is a genuine thing. Yeah.
Well, I did have a segue about a minute ago, but I've lost it now. And the segue was going to be. Speaking of parodies that are hopefully still fun and
yes, very
entertaining.
Yep.
I feel so laboured now.
You know, if you'd done it live at the time, I think I would have still given you the nicely. But you built into it.
Yeah. Well, the issue is Chris, that
as you told it.
Well, I did, but also I went to go and do it. But when a Chris is talking, it's very hard to get in. Anyway,
no, you're absolutely correct. And I, like your husband, talk incessantly. Sorry, Nat's husband is also called Chris. This may be an in-joke. Lots of things to talk about, and then you go, "Can I?"
I had a sentient point, but it's okay.
Sorry.
Anyway, Nexus. Monies.
Nexus. Money. Lovely money.
We should talk about money. We have about 10 minutes left. We can talk about money.
Sure.
Where did the idea for monies come from?
I wanted to do something connected to our past. I wanted to have a character that was specifically connected to something that we had done story-wise. I like Echo Knights. I think they're very cool. I wanted to find a way to play an Echo Knight that didn't feel like it was just, I have this cool thing that I summon and it does a thing. I wanted there to be an element of what is this echo? Because in Exandria, where it's from, it's a Critical Role campaign class, It's specifically to do with Dunamis and fate and other versions of yourself that may or may not have come. Like there's a whole story beat behind Echo Knights that feels very meaty and rounded and well told. That doesn't exist in Faerun at all. And you could just use the same concepts and go, and it would be absolutely fine. But I was thinking about it and went, but what if there's a connection to one of our backstories that means the class makes sense? Which then the gloom came to mind, obviously. And okay. And then I made a conscious effort not to overthink it. A lot of my characters are quite detailed, complicated breakdowns of things we've done and ideas and so on, and often quite a lot of backstory and stuff. And I thought, you know what? I want to play a quote-unquote normal person. I want to play someone who has had a thing happen to them. It was not nice. They didn't like it, so they moved.
Yep.
The most classic of hero things. What happened? Oh, our town was attacked, and you stayed and fought them? No, I protected my family, and then we went, this is clearly a bad place, and went somewhere else. The idea that this is someone with an element of normalcy, because when you presented the campaign document and said, this is what I want to do, you did describe it in this kind of, this is your job. There's almost a humdrum workman-like attitude to, we're just doing our, which comes from Half-Life, I understand, and all these ideas like it's just
we're just doing science.
We're just doing science, just another day in the office kind of stuff. Therefore, I wanted to make a character that wasn't your classic hero who was searching for the answers, but more of a like, this is my job. I guard things, and I've moved to a new city, and I couldn't find a job, and here's a job, so I'm doing it. Like keeping it quite simple and quite static, so that the story could develop out of things that happened in the adventure, not here's the stuff I've brought with me. A conscious effort to go away from that kind of thing, because it's what I tend to do, and go, well, try something a bit different.
Mm-hmm. And yet we've still managed to find some really lovely story moments for Marnie's.
Episode 4's coming up on Monday, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I will say it again. Ali is incredible when it comes to finding edge cases, and incredible at going, how can I find the thing? And what an incredible player. Love playing with Ali.
We'll talk about it more next week in the post-show wrap-up. I am sure.
But for the time being, like having the ability to think about, okay, what is this creature? It's a shade from the negative energy plane going, this person's name is great. Like that's all it is. And going, but how would they feel? And how would the complication between these two people get there? How do they try and communicate? Thinking all of that through and then having other players go, talk to me about that. Let's engage with that. Like we've always been a company that's really, really good at going, give me your stuff. Let's talk about your stuff. Let us share your stories and make this a bigger thing we can all enjoy. And I felt very much as a player like that was the other players around me were going, let me help tease this out. This feels like a good story beat to tease out. And it was nice that it wasn't this over dramatic, I had a twin who died, which was the first thought my mind went to. And then I went, no. Keep it real simple. Keep it super simple. I was in Baldur's Gate. It got attacked by shadows. Really sucked. I saw dead bodies. I didn't like it. So I went, me and my parents decided to leave. And this shade just tagged along. Just went, I'm coming along.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted that sense of bizarro normalcy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No huge backstory, hero reveal. Let me tell you what happened. None of that. We didn't need it.
Well, that's and I feel like, I've had this conversation off air, I think with Nick. So, and I can't remember if I had it on air. So please forgive me if this is repetitive. But one of the things I like about the world, that our version of Faerun is that we've had these big events that a lot of the campaigns do affect the world in small ways. And then we've had a couple here and there that even if you weren't in that city, you probably would have heard about it. There would have been bards singing the news along the roads.
Absolutely.
So these are like what happened in Baldur's Gate and what happened at the end of Sea of Swords with the with Eolian collapsing into the mountains, the plague going on in Neverwinter. These are all things that will affect the day-to-day lives of ordinary citizens, as well as the big heroes that go out and fight stuff. But those are the events that also create heroes as well. I mean, obviously created Sarah off the
Yes.
back of Gloom Falls as well, because I thought it was a really good jumping off point for stories of normal people I mean, Sarah's not exactly a normal person, but
well, D&D normal.
Yeah. Normal people turned into a main character.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. I think we all have a tendency when making characters to go, who is this hero I have made? What is their journey? What is their arc? Because the hero's journey is so ingrained into us conceptually that the ability to go, no, just a person who was in the wrong place at the wrong time and now therefore, I think that's quite spicy.
Yeah.
I think the ability to go, actually, we've made a world that is so congruent that we have the ability to go, these things affect other people. These things are part of a wider conversation about how the world sits in and of itself. And yeah, I was very pleased to make money like that. And I felt like it was nice with having another dwarf in the party, with Nick going up and playing a dwarf cleric as well. And the ability to go, well, there's some shared backstory, but it's not like, oh God, we had this huge ship. No, just cleric that I knew. Like, it's really simple. There's no need to go into too much detail. And then also having Nick go up, just a workaday cleric. There's no like big reveal. It's just solid stout, which meant we could do the solid stout dwarf thing, which is always great fun to do.
You have some lovely moments of being mutually outraged.
Mutually outraged dwarf,
What have you done to this place?
Do we share the story? I think we share the story. I had a different accent for Marnie prepared. And when we came into the recording of the first episode, Nick said, oh God, I'm doing Irish. I'll keep falling out of it. And I went, that's right, I'll do Irish too. That way we're fine. And I think it helped. My Irish is a bit floaty, but...
It helped until I introduced an NPC that spoke in a West Country accent.
They're so similar. Oh, it's a tough one. Yeah. West Country is also one of my go-tos for... I slip into it really, really easily because I had a player character who was West Country for 4 years.
Well practiced.
Very well practiced. Yeah, used it a lot. And that was a character who was also relatively talkative. So there was an awful lot of like character lines spoken in character that meant that snapping back into it is super easy. But that character also was a druid barbarian with wild shaping barbarian rages. Nice. It was a lot. Em did say I'm starting a lot of things quite high now. I think at level 7 I had something like we worked out. Like if I just wild shaped a few times and raged all the time, I had like 140 hit points.
It's disgusting.
It is a gruesome multi-class that I would not recommend putting your DM through. What happens now? Well, the tank absorbs everything and then we move on.
Yeah. And it was interesting. I mean, again, I'm a relatively new DM, especially for D&D, and looking at like difficulties of encounters where we have some incredibly squishy people in the party.
Yes.
And then we also have Marnie's, who has 70 hit points, level 5, is very hard to hit. Level 6 now, it's very hard to hit. And also essentially has 2 goes every round.
It's not quite how the echo works. You have an effective turn and a half.
Yeah.
You can double your movement and teleport between them. So there's a lot of stuff like that. It is often thrown about as a multiclass. It's a bit broken because it's a bit OP. I think there are elements of it that are a bit OP. I'm not going to lie. I think there are elements of it where I, as a player, go, it's a bit broken. But it doesn't feel broken to the extent where it doesn't sit alongside other characters pretty neatly.
No.
Like,
this was not a criticism and extreme outlier. But yeah, I kind of got to the point where I was like, I'm just going to embrace that we'll have a little combat and it probably won't be that challenging, but it's fine.
Okay. There was some combats there've been some episode 2 combat with the Dibbocks. Yeah, with Dibbocks. I found that quite challenging. There was a lot going on and a lot of things where we didn't quite know what to do. Dibbocks are nasty because they go into something, then go out of something, and then that can be a huge pain to deal with. I think you hit the nail on the head with challenging, maybe not necessarily from a gameplay perspective, but from like an emotional perspective in some places. And there was still some like, do I hit this thing now or do I go over there and hit that thing now kind of challenge that worked quite nicely as well. Also, you use things that have a lot of like shut down party mechanics, like slithering trackers in the first episode. Famously very good, because if they can attach themselves to something, half the damage goes to the person you're hitting, so you're hurting your own player character. And outside of some games, it is relatively normal to go, I don't want to, I can't hurt my fellow PC. That's a bad thing. I shouldn't do that. So you try and find 1,000 different ways of dealing with the problem, like Ali putting his hand behind it and trying to thunder wave it off Nick. Like, that's a classic, like, I don't want to hurt my party member. I will bend the rules. DM, please, I don't want to hurt my party member. That's what they're saying. They're going, I don't want to hurt my party member. Desperately don't want to hurt them. And Dybbuk's also have something like that where it doesn't matter how many times you hit the thing, as long as Dybbuk gets out and gets into something else, it's never going to die. Yeah, just keep going forever. So it's that's wear down combat. I think CR is a horrible conversation because it's so. There are CR 1/8 things that I've killed parties with at level 10.
Yeah.
Because sometimes their abilities are ridiculous, and because CR balancing is incredibly difficult. I don't begrudge the game designers the fact that CR is all over the place because it's impossible. A lot of it is experience. You run a monster once, go, cool, that's a lot harder than it looks. Or you run a monster once and go, that was piss easy, I need to put 20 more of them in. Kobolds. They're just so pathetic, bless them. But pack tactics and suddenly lots of them, they can stack up really quickly.
Yeah. We've run out of time.
Oh, what a surprise.
Look at that. Is there anything else you would like to say before we wrap up? Talk about?
We had a big thing at the beginning of this conversation that I think we said all we need to say on. I think just reiterating that maybe. Is there a way of putting this into a cogent, simple, short? That's very hard.
Vox pops, little.
Yeah, I know.
It's all difficult. And
I'm not good at that side of the internet. I never have been. But I think it is fair to say that WotC are a company first and will behave as such. And that's some bullshit right now because that's not how they got here. But from my experience, that is how they behave. I mean, again, other creatives have voiced how they've behaved towards them, and it's not great because they don't really care about people. They care about the company. That's their job. And all of this, all of the how are we going to tell people about the OGL, how are we going to tell people about this and that has been mishandled, clearly. In the last couple of days, it's turned into a misinformation war, which is even worse because now we don't know who to trust, and I feel like I can't trust anybody, which is nobody's fault. That's just because misinformation does that. It makes everything untrustworthy. I don't think it's a good time to be lambasting people about anything. What's the point? What are you doing? All you're doing is adding your voice to a group of people going, I'm angry with Wizards of the Coast. Good. I think we all are.
We don't have all the information yet to be accurate about that anger.
No, we don't. I think the anger is probably justified, but beyond that, I don't have anything else. And if you're angry, do the things that hurt them. It's money. Cancel your subscriptions. Don't go see their movies.
Do the most punk thing you can do. Keep telling stories and playing amongst your friends.
Exactly. Tell your stories. If you need to, start calling rangers, woodsmen, whatever. We'll work it out if we need to. It's fine. Yeah. And I think the whole community will work it out if we need to. We'll get there. I don't know what it's going to be or how it's going to function, and my heart goes out to anyone who is looking at a loss of livelihood, especially in a cost of living crisis in the UK. We'll keep doing what we can to support as many people as we can, as we've always done. And in the end, it just makes me sad. And I think it just makes a lot of people sad. And I don't think that's a good time to start trying to assign blame.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Well, on that slightly down note, no, keep telling stories, keep being wonderful people, keep being silly, beautiful selves that you are.
And that's great for that. Keep telling your funny, interesting, silly stories, and legal stuff, we'll sort it out.
History of the world is artists making art, and then people who are good at money coming in and saying, this is how you could be making lots of money from it. let me sort that for you and ruining it. But
you didn't want to end on a down note. That might be the down.
But
oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
People don't stop telling stories because it's what we do. It's a fundamental part of who we are.
That is a nice point to end on.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us to talk together. You'll find us here every Friday from 6 till 7 p.m. GMT or 10 a.m. PT, PST. Every Friday, it's usually our talk show, which is either this or Talking is a Free Action, or our post-show roundups, which is what it will be next week. So that's Fridays, and then Mondays and Tuesdays we play our D&D games. And on Mondays we're currently playing Nexus. Nexus, the finale, is this coming Monday. I had a lot of fun. I think the players did too.
Really well DM'd, like DM to DM. Proper kudos. You pulled the wool over our eyes expertly. Gorgeous.
Marvelous. Well, come see what that's about on Monday, 6 till just after 9 p.m. Do apologise for whenever it is. No, it doesn't run too long. And then Tuesday we have not Fracture this week.
No, it is Fracture next week. It's the week after.
Is it?
January has 5 weeks up till Tuesdays.
There you go. Oh. Okay, so we've got Fracture next Tuesday, and then the following Tuesday we have a special one-shot that is DM'd by Sean. Find out more about that coming soon. Great. Do that. Come join us. Watch all of those. You can watch it here, which might be twitch.tv/rolltogetherrpg, or you can watch it here, which might be YouTube, Roll Together RPG, or you could listen to it here, which might be a podcast app of your choice. And you can find it in all of the other ones that you're not consuming this content on. I hate the word content. Or you could find us on socials, Roll Together RPG. Thank you once again to our Patreon. You're all wonderful, wonderful people. You too could join them for as little as one of your local currencies per month. Chris has been practicing their heart. There you go. That's a heart shape. Well done. Thank you again.
Myself in the face, so you know.
That's how much you love our D20 club.
So cat-handed I am, yeah.
Thank you to all our sponsors and supporters. And take care. Goodbye. Stay classy at the table. Stay classy at the table.
Sure, why not?